Divine message revealed. Your miraculous journey to redemption is now confirmed and manifested in the quaint English village of Eldermere. Whispers of hope shrouded the air like the gentle mist that rolled from the hills at dawn. The church steeple of St. Michael's towered proudly as a beacon of faith, casting long shadows on cobblestone streets where Elizabeth, a devoted mother, stirred hearts and souls with her tireless spirit. Known for her unwavering faith, she had always found solace within those sacred walls, but a harrowing shadow loomed large over her family. Her sweet child, Samuel, fought a debilitating illness one deemed terminal by modern medicine. Miss Elizabeth knelt by her child's bed, pleading for divine intervention. Her heart ached and trembled. But that night, during their family prayer, a surge of warmth enveloped her, a feeling so strong that it seemed to resonate deep within her being. "I have heard your prayers," a voice whispered through the quiet of the room, a promise echoing through the very fibers of her soul. With renewed energy, Elizabeth felt the prophetic word blossom, a glimmer of hope in the dark, a promise of miraculous healing, a divine message revealed. Encouraged, Elizabeth shared her stirring discovery with the villagers. But instead of the expected elation, a ripple of skepticism spread like wildfire. "Just a mother's wishful thinking," muttered one neighbor, while others shook their heads and furrowed their brows in doubt. With her heart heavy and relationships strained, Elizabeth looked toward the chapel, where the flickering candles were a reminder of hope and faith entwined. She resolved to rally her community, organizing a prayer vigil. "Come, join me in seeking divine intervention," she called, her voice echoing the fervor of her heart. As dusk fell, the villagers gathered at St. Michael's, the air thick with anticipation. Some came with heavy hearts, others with minds clouded by doubt. Yet every candle lit offered a flicker of belief. Elizabeth stood with her family, the sacred darkness surrounding them vibrating with energy. Just then, a sudden silence descended, so profound it felt tangible. The atmosphere shimmered, and an almost ethereal light engulfed the chapel. Before Elizabeth or anyone could comprehend what was unfolding, a miraculous wave surged through the congregation. Gasps of awe and reverent whispers cascaded through the pews. In that extraordinary moment, Elizabeth witnessed an undeniable transformation before her very eyes. Samuel blinked awake, color flooding his cheeks and laughter pouring from his lips, a burst of life reborn. The church erupted, a flood of astonished hearts and voices echoing praise. Questions flew like leaves in the wind. Was this a miracle, or simply coincidence? The air pulsed with fear and faith, igniting a profound discussion on the nature of divine intervention. Elizabeth, though enveloped in joy, felt an unsettling question tug at her spirit. Was this truly a sign from God, or just a fleeting moment of fortune? The village thrummed with renewed vigor, shared stories of belief intertwining through its cobblestone streets. But Elizabeth knew this profound experience was only the beginning. What greater purpose lay behind this divine act? What were the next steps in this miraculous journey of faith? Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with the reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue as Elizabeth stood amidst the joyous chaos. A profound realization dawned on her. This miraculous healing was not just for her son. It was a catalyst for deeper faith in the hearts of all who witnessed it. The future shimmered with possibility, a tapestry of divine encounters waiting to be unraveled. But even among newfound hope, mysteries lingered. The question remained vivid in her heart. What role would her faith play in the unfolding story of her villagers, and would they find the same blessing she had? As the sun rose the next morning, its golden rays spilled through the stained glass of St. Michael's, casting colorful patterns across the floor. Elizabeth found herself drawn back to the chapel, her heart still swirling with praise and uncertainty. The villagers had witnessed the miracle, yet doubts lingered like shadows in the corners of their minds. How could she help them see this wasn't merely a fleeting event, but a glimpse of God's profound love? She wanted to share her joy, but how do you speak of the divine without being met with skepticism? Elizabeth closed her eyes, centering herself in prayer. Lord, guide me. Show me how to use this gift to uplift my neighbors. As she offered her plea, the gentle breeze whistled through the chapel's open window, carrying with it the scent of blooming flowers from the village gardens. Elizabeth felt a warmth spread within her, as if wrapped in a heavenly embrace. Maybe this was the answer she needed. Perhaps sharing her journey, not just the result, could draw the villagers closer to the divine. Stepping into the town square later that day, Elizabeth saw familiar faces. She could feel their eyes on her, some filled with hope, others clouded with lingering doubt. Seeing Samuel by her side, a small bundle of joy, transformed the scene. His laughter floated through the air, a sweet sound that weaved its way into the hearts present. Friends, family, gather around. Elizabeth called. Her voice rang clear like a bell, cutting through the murmur of uncertainty. One by one, villagers turned to listen, their feet drawing nearer. She began to share every detail of the night before the raw honesty of her fears, the miraculous touch of warmth that enveloped her during prayer and the moment Samuel awakened. I had no strength left, she related, her voice trembling with emotion. But in my weakest hour, God spoke to me. He wove faith into our moment of desperation. The crowd exchanged glances, breaths catching in their throats, feeling the weight of her testimony that a local farmer stepped forward, his brow furrowed with concern. Elizabeth, how can we trust this moment? We've prayed before, and but that's it. She interjected, stepping closer, her heart racing. Our prayers are not just words. They are threads connecting us to the divine. God doesn't always answer in the ways we expect. Sometimes it's in the silence or the stillness, urging us to hold on. Her fervency pierced through the fog of doubt, igniting sparks of hope. She encouraged each villager to share their stories of faith or healing, and one by one, voices began to rise, remembrances of small miracles, moments of deep connection, times they felt held by a love beyond their understanding. As the conversation swelled into a symphony of faith, Elizabeth felt the atmosphere shift. No longer were they standing in skepticism, but united in belief. Samuel giggled, drawing everyone's gaze back to his bright eyes. In that instant, something shifted not just within the hearts of her neighbors, but in her own spirit as well. Then, Elizabeth felt a profound call within her heart. This was just the beginning. A greater work was unfolding, reaching far beyond the village of Eldermere. Yet, as whispers of renewed faith filled the square, Elizabeth still sensed the gentle nudging of the Spirit. What awaited them next? How could this transformative moment blossom into lasting change within their community? In her heart, she felt the question loom large: what would God ask of them now? As she gazed into the faces of her neighbors, she knew the journey was only just beginning. The sun began its climb in the azure sky, spilled light warming the cobblestones of the town square. The excited chatter of the villagers filled the air, a blend of hope and newfound faith. Elizabeth stood at the center, elated yet contemplative. She felt an unseen thread of purpose weaving through her spirit, urging her to guide her neighbors to the depths of this experience. Samuel cooed in her arms, his innocent laughter echoing through the crowd, lifting hearts with each delighted sound. Elizabeth cast her glance over the faces around her, some still tinged with doubt, while others shone with eagerness. It was clear they craved connection, something deeper than mere conversation. Today, Elizabeth began, her voice steady but warm. We will take steps toward something new. We've gathered to share, but we also need to listen to what God is nudging within us. The crowd fell silent, the gravity of her statement settling over them like a soft blanket. Elizabeth could see the glimmers of interest kindling in their eyes. Let us pray, not just with words, but with our hearts. Let every breath be a chorus of our desire for his guidance, she said, kneeling and encouraging the others to join. As they bowed their heads, Elizabeth felt the Spirit envelop them. Whispers of gratitude floated upwards, an unbroken stream of heartfelt devotion. In this beautiful moment of unity, a flicker of light shimmered just above the horizon of her inner vision. Suddenly, one of the villagers, a quiet woman named Agnes, broke the circle. I think we need to go beyond sharing our feelings. What if we created a space for others who are lost? Her voice trembled, yet it was laced with determination. A murmur of agreement rippled through the group. A man from the crowd, David, stepped forward, his face illuminated with an idea. Let us start a gathering every week, a chance to share and pray together and invite anyone from nearby villages. We could share meals, our stories, and our testimonies. An echo of approving murmurs surged, buoying Elizabeth's spirit higher. A scab of doubt fell away. "That's beautiful," Elizabeth exclaimed. "Let us create a community of grace and testimony." The villagers erupted in excitement, hope igniting like a spark in dry kindling. Questions buzzed about how to form groups, who would lead the first gathering, and how they might reach out to those who needed healing. In the midst of this fervor, she felt a gentle jolt in her heart, a reminder of the spiritual realm hovering near them. "But let us not forget our purpose," she said, her voice softening. "This isn't just an event or a structure. We need to carry the message of Christmas in our hearts. Love, peace, and kindness to all." With each word, she sensed the palpable breath of the Holy Spirit weaving through them, binding their hearts together. They stood at the brink of something profound yet undefined. Each person faced a choice: would they open their arms wider to the love of God? Elizabeth glanced at Samuel, still cradled against her chest, and felt the warmth of the Spirit stir again. She shivered, knowing the journey ahead would not be without hardship. What challenges must they confront? What lessons lay ahead in God's unfolding plan? The thought lingered like a whisper on a soft breeze. What divine surprises awaited them as they stepped deeper into their faith journey? Would the paths they chose lead to healings greater than they could imagine? With anticipation and caution, Elizabeth stepped forward, her heart a drum in her chest, ready to embrace the unfolding mystery ahead. As the excitement in the square simmered, Elizabeth could feel a divine energy weaving through the throng of villagers. There was an unspoken understanding each heart present was a thread in a beautiful tapestry of faith. The atmosphere was thick with hope and anticipation. Suddenly, a child dashed through the crowd, a wild laugh bursting forth like a hymn of joy. His unadulterated spirit encapsulated the essence of the moment. Elizabeth smiled, her heart soaring as she thought of the purity of their mission. It was about nourishing the very spirit of community, the lifeblood of their bond. "Let us not just speak about doing good," she called out, her voice firm yet tender. "Let us embody it. We must become instruments of his love. Can we find a way to support one another in tangible acts of kindness?" The villagers responded with nods and murmurs of agreement. A wave of energy rippled across their faces as they considered her words, seeming to embrace the sense of purpose spreading among them. Agnes stood again, her eyes bright. "What if we start a meal-sharing program? Some of us have more food than we need, and there are families struggling to put dinner on the table." From the back of the crowd, someone shouted, "And we can take turns cooking and visiting those who are sick." Nods of approval cascaded through the gathering, the sense of urgency palpable. Elizabeth's heart raced as she witnessed this evolution before her. Each suggestion felt like a brushstroke painting their communal story, a testament of faith in action. As they fleshed out ideas, the conversation shifted to the unity they sought to achieve. David suggested, "Let us include prayer in our gatherings, not just for ourselves, but for the needs of the world around us." "Yes," Elizabeth exclaimed, her spirit ignited further. We must carry the burdens of others with us as we draw nearer to God. Let every gathering be a beacon of hope. They formed groups, ideas bouncing from one mind to another, each sharing stories of struggles and victories and promises of support. Elizabeth felt compelled to share her own story, her path leading to this moment of divine purpose. There was a time I felt lost, struggling to find my place. But God met me in my darkest moments. He transformed my heart. We can each be His hands and feet, guiding a lost soul back home. Tears glimmered in the eyes of many. They began to connect their testimonies, each story a thread in their shared tapestry of grace. Elizabeth looked around, stirred by the passion and faith that ignited within the crowd. But beneath the excitement, a gravity settled in Elizabeth's heart. Questions stirred within her. Would they truly be prepared for what lay ahead? Would they follow through with their promises as hardships arose? Just then, as if orchestrated by divine hands, a soft wind brushed against them, and a shimmering light flickered just above them. Elizabeth felt a wave of warmth cascade through her. The moment seemed to stretch, time holding its breath in reverence. "What is happening?" whispered Agnes, her eyes wide in awe. Elizabeth sensed a clear message. Something remarkable awaited them beyond their anticipation. It spun through her mind like a vibrant hymn, weaving hope, faith, and compassion into a single thread. "Whatever comes next," she said slowly, "it will be a journey of discovery, a test of our faith. We must walk this path wholeheartedly." As the villagers took in her words, hushed whispers moved through them like ripples, thoughts spinning into promises of unity and trust for the road ahead. Elizabeth held Samuel a bit closer, feeling his innocence and warmth like an anchor to her own faith in that shared silence. Her heart raced with both fear and excitement. What discoveries awaited them on this path they had begun? What trials would test their resolve? The divine mystery hung in the air, waiting to be unveiled, compelling them to step forward into the unknown. The gentle breeze around them danced, infusing the moment with a profound serenity. Elizabeth felt that stillness deepen the bond forming among the villagers. Eyes locked, hearts intertwined, a collective promise unspooled before them, resonating in unison like a beautiful waltz of faith. Suddenly, a stirring voice broke the sacred silence. It was Old Man Thomas, his weathered face a canvas of lifetime struggles. "Elizabeth," he began, gravelly but earnest, "I have seen much in my days. I've witnessed darkness, but I have also glimpsed the light. Here, today, I feel that light stronger than ever. I believe we are being called to something grand." As he spoke, others leaned in. Thomas's humble wisdom pierced through their hearts, planting seeds of reverence. Each of us carries burdens, joy, and pain. But if we embrace our weaknesses together, we become stronger, he continued. Let's not be afraid. Let us share these burdens, intertwining our fates as the Father intends. A ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd. Elizabeth felt the truth in his words, igniting a flickering flame of hope. Families had been fractured, friends had drifted apart. Yet here was the opportunity to mend, to weave a patchwork of love, anchoring them to a higher purpose. "Maybe we start by sharing not just meals," Agnes interjected, her voice soft yet steady, "but our stories, our fears, our dreams. What good is a meal if it is not shared with an open heart?" With each suggestion, the energy shifted, sparking enthusiasm and laughter among the villagers. Elizabeth felt the atmosphere change, a palpable joy rising as if it were a hymn of thanksgiving. "Yes, let us create a space where we can bring our truths," she replied, her voice imbued with gratitude. "A circle of trust where every voice is a note in our song of faith." An elderly woman nodded, her smile brimming with warmth. "And let us include our children. They need to know what it means to love and be loved," she said, raising her hands as if to embrace the very essence of their mission. "Our children are our future," Elizabeth echoed. Let them feel this joy so that it flows into generations to come. Who knows what they will create from our tapestry? Laughter erupted among the villagers, weaving fellowship into their hearts. Elizabeth felt a powerful surge of energy, an inexplicable peace washing over her. Could it be that they were on the brink of something transformative? But suddenly, a whisper of uncertainty gnawed at her thoughts. What if the weight of their shared burdens proved too heavy? What if unity crumbled under trials that would test them? As the group continued to exchange ideas, a deeper resolve settled in Elizabeth. "We must be ready," she said, raising her voice above the din. "We are not just building a community. We are solidifying a foundation rooted in Christ's love. We shall face adversity with grace." In that moment, the shimmering light above them flickered again, pulsing with warmth. Elizabeth looked around, sensing every heart was attuned to the divine rhythm. "Something beautiful is being woven here," she murmured, her heart swelling. Yet an unspoken truth lingered in the air. What will happen when that light fades? She pondered silently, feeling both hope and trepidation twined together. Deep inside, she knew they would be tested at that very instant. The sweet laughter of children brushed past like a warm embrace, echoing through the square. The sound was a reminder that innocence and purity remained at the core of their mission. "Whatever challenges we face," Elizabeth declared, her voice ringing out fierce and clear, "we must remember why we began this journey. In every act of love, we will discover His purpose for us." As they began to make practical plans, the air shimmered, thick with expectancy. The unknown loomed ahead, a dance of faith intertwined with apprehension. What trials awaited them as they ventured forth? How would they stand united when faith was tested? The mystery unraveled even further, urging them to trust in His guidance as they prepared to take their first steps into this divine journey. The days that followed were imbued with a sacred energy, as whispers of hope and purpose circulated through the village like the gentle wind. Elizabeth felt the divine presence draw closer, as neighbors flocked to the square, eager to participate in the unfolding journey. Their unity ignited like a flame, illuminating the path ahead. Each evening, the villagers gathered, sharing stories fueled by laughter and tears. Elizabeth watched as the tapestry of their lives intertwined, weaving a rich narrative that spoke of resilience and love. Everyone offered a piece of themselves, a laborer's struggle, a mother's worry, a child's innocent dreams. Each confession was a thread, adding depth to their collective spirit. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of gold and pink, the children danced at the edge of the gathering. Their bright laughter mingled with the sighing breeze, echoing joy. Elizabeth stood enraptured by the sight. These were the moments that anchored their hearts, creating memories stitched with faith. But once again, the worry clouded her mind. What if the threads of their stories became too tangled? What if the fabric began to fray under the weight of reality? She quickly shook off the darkness, reminding herself of old man Thomas's promises. Together, they would bear one another's burdens. Together, they were strong. "Let us prepare a feast for the heart," Elizabeth finally exclaimed, her voice shining with renewed vigor. "On the weekend, we'll celebrate our stories. We'll invite everyone from far and wide. Let them taste the love we've sown." The villagers responded with claps and cheers, their joy rippling through the air like a sacred hymn. As preparations began, the community thrummed with anticipation. Families worked together, creating dishes that would fill plates and hearts alike. Elizabeth felt buoyed by enthusiasm. This was a glimpse of the light promised by Thomas. She could sense that divine purpose in every shared smile, every spoonful of love. But doubts surfaced again, more profound than before. As murmurs of challenge buzzed through the villagers, Elizabeth pondered. Was their unity strong enough to face the storms that lay ahead? The thought loomed heavy over her, casting shadows on her joyful hopes. And on the eve of the feast, Elizabeth decided to sneak out and gaze at the stars. She needed clarity. Under the vast expanse of twinkling lights, she found serenity. Lord, she breathed, grant us strength that transcends our fears. Let this gathering be more than a meal. It must be a communion of spirits. In her heart, a warmth expanded, reminding her that the wildest storms often birthed the brightest rainbows. As she turned back toward the village, she sensed a stirring in her spirit. The next day dawned bright, with laughter and song filling every corner of the square. But just as Elizabeth savored the warmth in her heart, a shadow fell over the village. A traveler, weary and worn, approached. His eyes carried a history of sorrow, and Elizabeth felt her heart quake. The villagers grew silent, their eyes darting towards the newcomer, a ripple of concern washing over them. "Forgive my intrusion," the man spoke softly, "but I seek refuge and hope. I have heard of your love." Elizabeth's heart pounded with anticipation. What message would this stranger bring? Would his words challenge their unity, or would they reinforce the bonds they were building together? She stepped forward, feeling the divine pull guide her. What was God intending to reveal through this unexpected visitor? The mysteries of faith felt more profound than ever. The air hummed with blessings yet undeciphered. The stranger took a deep breath, searching the faces that surrounded him. His eyes, pools of emotion, glistened with unshed tears. He spoke with a weary intensity, the words flowing from his lips like a long-held prayer. "I have journeyed far, fueled by a flicker of faith," he began, his voice soft but resonant. "I was shown visions, flashes of a community bound not just by stories, but by love and miracles. I hope to find a people who embody this truth." Elizabeth's heart fluttered, a mix of curiosity and fear coursing through her. She could see her neighbors leaning in, their expressions poised, hanging on every word. The air was electric with anticipation. "What do you seek amongst us?" she asked gently, feeling the weight of the moment. "I come not empty-handed," he replied, his voice gathering strength. "In my travels, I came upon a sacred scroll, a message of hope destined for this village. A shining tapestry woven with purpose, meant to be shared among you." The crowd gasped, and Elizabeth felt a stirring within her spirit. How could this be? A message from far away, alleged to strengthen their bonds and affirm their endeavors. The atmosphere buzzed with possibility, and she felt the warmth of community wrap around her like a soft cloak amidst the gathering chill. "What does it say?" someone called out, breaking the silence. Every heart beat in unison, longing for the revelation that would pull them closer together. "A moment is coming," the man continued, his eyes alight with a fervent glow. "You will face trials that will stretch your faith to its limits. But through that, you must not waver. Hold on to your unity. Together, in prayer and trust, you will rise. This community is chosen to become a beacon of light beyond these hills. You are to share your gift of love, and in doing so, you will discover the true depths of your strength and the power of divine providence." As the words hung in the air, silence enveloped the group like a tranquil blanket. Each villager felt a pulse of hope race through their veins. Elizabeth could see the weariness fade from some faces, replaced with purpose and renewed strength. They were not alone. The message was clear. The traveler raised a trembling hand, palm open, as if offering something sacred. "You must gather tonight beneath the stars. There, in the presence of the Creator, your prayers will be answered, and your doubts will be dispelled. A divine intervention awaits you." Elizabeth's heart soared with hope, but a tinge of apprehension lingered. What could this intervention be? What trials lay ahead? As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, Elizabeth turned to her neighbors, looking into their faces. "We will come together," she declared, her voice unwavering. "We will prepare for this gathering as one. Our unity will draw down heaven's grace." Laughter and gentle chatter erupted, revitalizing the air. Plans began to stir once more, but Elizabeth felt the weight of the traveler's words pressing against her soul. She felt the dawning realization that their celebratory feast was not just about gathering stories, but a sacred preparation for something beyond comprehension, something divine on the brink of manifestation. As they began to regroup, Elizabeth caught a glimmer of concern in the corner of her eye. What if our unity isn't enough? She thought, the familiar weight of uncertainty returning. But she pushed it aside, remembering the warmth of love that had woven them all together. The evening sky began to twinkle with stars, each one a promise, a whisper of divine presence. Would they be ready to embrace whatever was to come? As the villagers prepared for their gathering, Elizabeth stood still for a moment, gazing into the gathering dusk. Her heart raced at the possibilities that lay ahead. What blessings were in store? More than a feast awaited them under the canopy of heavens. A renewal, a calling, a divine transformation. The traveler turned to her, eyes shining with understanding. Prepare your hearts. Dear ones, tonight will be a night of reckoning and revelation. Are you ready to embrace your destiny? As the shadows deepened, the air shimmered with anticipation. Would they accept this divine call? In that moment, the collective spirit held its breath, waiting for a sign. The stars began to wink awake, filling the vast sky with their distant glimmers, each one a jewel in the tapestry of night. In the village, a hush fell as if the very earth was holding its breath. Hope crescendoed in their hearts like a symphony yet to be played. Elizabeth sensed an invisible thread weaving itself tighter among her neighbors. They were being drawn together, not just for a feast, but for the sacred unveiling of something profound. As the twilight deepened, Elizabeth rallied her friends to prepare the gathering space. There was a palpable energy in their movements, laughter spilling like sunlight amidst the shadow. Each table was adorned with fresh blooms and flickering lanterns. They spoke not of past troubles or uncertainties, but of shared dreams, the vision of unity and love that buzzed like bees around blooming flowers. Suddenly, a sharp wind gusted through the village square, causing the lanterns to dance wildly. People gasped, their faces turned skyward, seeking understanding from the heavens. Elizabeth felt the chill run down her spine, but remembered the traveler's words. In unity, you are stronger, she whispered to herself, anchoring her fears. As the villagers settled under the stars, a fire was kindled. Its warm glow flickered against their faces, illuminating the hope that lingered in the air. Elizabeth looked around at the familiar faces, their smiles, now shone with determination and love. An elder began to speak, sharing tales of times when faith had brought them through despair. His voice carried the weight of history and echoed their collective journey. Then, the stranger took center stage once more. His presence emanated peace, and the flickering flames seemed to bow to him. My friends, he began, his voice a gentle stream flowing through the crowd. Tonight, you stand on the brink of a new chapter, one that will reshape your hearts and your community. The villagers leaned in closer, eyes wide with anticipation. You will be tested, he continued, but trials are not walls. They are bridges. Live each moment as an opportunity to deepen your love. When discomfort arises, let forge the bonds between you. Your light dims not in shadows, but shines brighter as you face them together. A murmur rippled through the crowd. The stranger's words resonated, striking chords of truth deep within them. They recognized the weight of what lay ahead. They were not merely facing difficulties, but journeys that would lead them to their true selves. With each shared story and every echo of laughter, Elizabeth felt the tendrils of doubt loosen their grip. An unexplainable warmth flickered in her chest. A realization dawned tonight. They were not just sharing a meal. They were participating in a divine tapestry, a sacred preparation for something miraculous. The musician, inspired by the unfolding spirit of the moment, began to play a soft melody, touching souls with each note. Voices joined in harmony, mingling with the crackling fire, a song of surrender, of faith, and of hope. Elizabeth found herself lost in the music. Tears of gratitude slipped down her cheeks as she felt the divine presences swirl around them. Suddenly, a change stirred in the atmosphere. The very air thickened with expectancy, and Elizabeth's heart raced. What would they discover tonight? What divine purpose awaited them beneath that canopy of stars? Just as she pondered the depths of this mystery, a hush fell once more. The stranger raised his hand, and in the silence that enveloped them, a soft glow appeared in the center of their gathering. Light pulsated gently, cradling the villagers in its embrace. "Prepare your hearts," he called, as a tremor of excitement shot through the crowd. The message is yet to be revealed. Elizabeth stood transfixed, her breath caught in her throat. What would this divine message unlock? What new challenges and wonders awaited them? As hope glimmered brighter, one thought lingered, a question whispered through the stillness. Are you ready to accept this promise of transformation? With that, the night shifted, and anticipation filled the air like the sweet scent of blooming flowers, ready for the next unfolding of destiny. A hush stretched over the gathering. The soft glow expanded, casting a warm light across their faces, illuminating eyes wide with wonder and hearts beating in a sacred rhythm. Elizabeth felt an electric thrill rush through her veins, igniting her spirit. This moment felt like the very heartbeat of the universe, calling them closer to divine purpose. "Behold," the stranger said, his voice rich and resonant like the bell-like laughter of joyous souls. "The light that surrounds you is not just a phenomenon. It is the response of heaven to your gathering. It is confirmation of your readiness to embrace what comes next." The villagers exchanged glances, confusion giving way to a deeper understanding. This was not a coincidence. This was a divine union. Elizabeth's heart swelled with an exhilarating mix of fear and excitement as she studied the flickering luminescence. "Close your eyes," the stranger instructed, his tone a soothing balm. "In silence, let your hearts open. Seek the truth that has been laid before you." Obediently, they bowed their heads and closed their eyes, sinking into the stillness enveloping them. Elizabeth felt the warmth of the light wash over her, filling her from head to toe like melted gold. She inhaled deeply, breathing in the pure, intoxicating essence of hope. "Let your inner sight awaken," the stranger continued. "In this sacred space, you are connected to one another and to the divine, threading your personal dreams into a shared vision." As they surrendered to this quiet journey within, images began to flicker in Elizabeth's mind, a vibrant tapestry of her past, moments of struggle, bliss, pain, laughter, and lessons learned. Each thread shone brightly, pulsating with meaning. She felt her burdens lift, replaced by a vivid understanding of the strength that held them all together. Love, she realized, was the thread she had always hungered for, and here it was, woven through every heart present. The fire crackled warmly, and a gentle breeze swept through the square like a loving caress. "Trust this illumination," the stranger urged. "In unity, your hearts are becoming one. This is the foundation for the challenges ahead, where you will be called to stand firm in faith and love." Elizabeth's thoughts danced with fervor. They were not just some isolated community bound by proximity. They were a family, now destined to face their trials together. With that realization, new determination washed over her, igniting fresh courage within. The fire sparked that night, but it would not be the end. It was merely the beginning. A guardian spirit seemed to form at the heart of the glow, transcending the physical realm, a divine whisper echoing through the night. "You have the power to change your own story. The sky is the limit when hearts unite." As the villagers opened their eyes, the glimmering light began to fade, leaving behind a profound silence filled with reverence. The air shimmered with unspoken promises. Hope gripped them like an old friend returned. Elizabeth caught the eye of the stranger, who wore a knowing smile. As if he understood hunger for purpose completely, an elder spoke up, breaking the tranquil silence tentatively. "What do we need to do?" "Live in love. The stranger replied simply, his eyes sparkling like the stars overhead. Every moment dedicated to kindness, each act of faith, will illuminate the path laid before you. The villagers nodded, affirming their intention. The warmth of unity wrapped around them, comforting and affirmative. This was not merely about surviving trials. It was about embracing each step forward as sacred a dance with destiny. Elizabeth's heart brimmed with an eager anticipation, a sense of divine adventure bubbling just below the surface. What would this transformation ask of them? As she looked around, caught in the glow of the evening, she could only wonder what the next chapter held. Would they rise to the challenge of selfless love? As if in answer, the winds began to stir once more, hinting at the stirring of something ancient, something incredibly powerful. The night was still, young, and so was their journey. The dawn broke over Eldermere with an ethereal glow, illuminating the village as if heaven itself had spilled its grace upon the earth. Hearts stirred with quiet anticipation. Elizabeth stepped outside, feeling the warmth of the sun on her face, a radiant reminder of the promise bestowed on them. She recalled the stranger's words, "Live in love." It swirled in her heart like a sacred mantra, igniting her spirit anew. As she walked through the cobblestone streets, Elizabeth sensed a shift in the air around her. The villagers greeted one another with smiles softer and more profound than before. Conversations flowed with excitement. Their connection felt tangible, knitting them closer together like delicate stitches in a quilt of faith and love. The day unfolded with purpose. Families gathered in their homes, brainstorming ways to live out their shared vision. Elizabeth, too, felt the fire of determination stirring within her. She rallied her neighbors, and together, they set forth to create plans that would embody the very essence of their divine calling. Slowly, the village began to transform. They opened their hearts and homes, arranging gatherings that mirrored the feast of unity. People came together to share meals, stories, and, most importantly, love. It flowed like a river through every interaction, dissolving past animosities and healing old wounds. One evening, as the village square buzzed with laughter and shared tales, Elizabeth stood on a wooden crate, her heart bursting with joy. "Friends," she called out, her voice rising above the joyful chaos. "Can you feel the change among us? We are living the light the stranger spoke of. Through our love, we are shaping the destiny of Eldermere." A wave of applause echoed around her, uplifted by the spirit of camaraderie. Elizabeth saw the faces of old skeptics melt into beams of warmth as new bonds forged through remembering their shared humanity. It was as if they had peeled away years of doubt, revealing a treasure trove of faith hidden beneath. But in the back of her mind, the instinctive worry still flickered. Were they truly ready for the trials the stranger had foretold? Would their newfound unity withstand the forces of life? Elizabeth quickly quashed her fears, reminding herself that faith was meant to be stretched and tested. Therein lay its true strength. Weeks passed, and the village thrived, echoing with laughter and joy only a united family could express. Then one evening, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon, bathing the village in twilight's hues, word spread of a storm brewing in the distance. Dark clouds loomed ominously, threatening to break. The air buzzed with tension. "Gather," Elizabeth called, her voice steady. "We will stand united once more, for our strength lies in the love we share." The villagers assembled in the square, their hearts beating as one. They prayed together, not out of fear, but out of deep-rooted faith. It was an invocation, a melody of hope rising toward the heavens. As the storm struck, ferocious and wild, trees bowed and winds howled. The villagers wrapped their arms around each other, bracing against nature's fury. The tempest raged, but within that hallowed space, a calm surged through them. Right there, surrounded by chaos, Elizabeth felt that love, the inexplicable bond that calmed fears and ignited strength. "Together!" she shouted against the wind. No storm can tear apart what God has knit together. The words rang like a bell, echoing over the tumult. Each villager joined her, their voices stitching a tapestry of faith amidst the howling winds. And just as it began, the storm subsided. The rain fell gentle, washing away their fears, while the dark clouds parted, revealing a sky full of stars. In that brilliant moment, Elizabeth understood what the stranger had meant. Together, they had faced the trials, and together they had emerged unscathed, stronger than before. The village erupted in celebration. Laughter rang through the air once more, but this time it was layered with a deeper joy, a recognition of the divine transformation they had undergone. Elizabeth stood with Samuel beside her, watching as her neighbors rejoiced. She saw in their faces a newfound understanding, a sacred connection to one another and to God, that sacred night. Under the canopy of stars, Elizabeth felt a profound sense of closure. It was also the dawning of a new adventure. They had stepped into the light of profound unity, bonded by love, trials, and the blessings of their shared experience. As the villagers danced, Elizabeth lifted her hands to the heavens, her heart full of gratitude. "Thank you, Lord," she whispered, tears shimmering in her eyes, "for this journey and for the love that binds us." And she knew, without a shadow of a doubt, that their collective story was only beginning, a relentless journey of faith stretching into eternity. You must subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. This is the moment to show your support. You need to leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your click makes a difference. Don't wait even one more second to share this transformative video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Only true servants of God understand the importance of lifting each other through these actions. Let your voice be heard.